Just what do you do when the only way to save the village is to shake the hand with the devil? Because in Boruto 2 Blue Vortex Chapter 29, Boruto didn't just cross a line, he just outright erased it. No more restraints, no more fear of possession, just full-blown karma, full-blown Otsutsuki power. And for the first time ever, Boruto has finally used this dojutsu. But Momoshiki makes one thing crystal clear. This power, it comes with a deadline, and it comes with a body count. Once Jura falls, Kawaki is next, and Boruto's body is forever Momoshiki's. Meanwhile, Mamushi isn't just invading Konoha, he's overwhelming it with 50 full power clones. 20 more than even Kashin Koji had calculated for. Himawari, she's tapping into the Nine Tails chakra, but even that isn't enough to take down Mamushi. Boruto and Kawaki, they're both being forced into their karma seal inside the village to fight against Mamushi. And one mistake by Konohamaru has now cost Shikamaru potentially his Hokage seat as 8th Hokage. This chapter isn't just about power-ups and shiny eyes. It's also about consequences and deals that cannot be undone, and about whether or not Boruto just saved the future or potentially guaranteed the bloodiest ending, potentially what Boruto said in chapter 1, the worst possible outcome. So let's break down how everything in Boruto chapter 29 of 2 Blue Vortex sets everything into motion. We open up the chapter with a flashback taking us back to when Boruto made his original agreement with Momoshiki a few chapters ago, and we see more of the context that was cut out and what Boruto refused to tell Kashin Koji in regards to the details of the deal that was struck between the two. Momoshiki is told by Boruto, after Jura is defeated, he'll give up his body and he's dead serious in the offer, but only if Jura is destroyed. However, all that time inside the body of the son of the greatest shinobi to have ever lived is taught Momoshiki a thing or two about seeing past ninja deception, because Momoshiki, he doesn't need a fancy dojutsu activated to see that Boruto is working a deceptive angle here. Momoshiki reminds Boruto, we share a body. Our inner thoughts, they're linked, which means it's a two-way street. I can have access to your thoughts and you have access to mine. We can't hide anything from each other. He says that Boruto's telling the truth, but as we'll see, there is a bit of an asterisk here, and when it comes into play, it's because Boruto continued to talk after having already laid down the agreement with Momoshiki. He says that he knows that Momoshiki is suffering while he's inside of Boruto's body, and that if Boruto was to just die, Momoshiki's soul can escape that samsaric cycle of suffering and move on, but that if Boruto gives up control of his body, Momoshiki will be able to walk amongst the living again without any trouble. But the awakened Shinju, they're a problem for both of them because they are a threat to their existence. However, that's where Momoshiki lets it be known he's seen through the deception of Boruto's offer. He says he knows the plan is to have Momoshiki kill Jura for Boruto, then Kawaki will kill Boruto upon seeing Momoshiki has taken over, which is why Boruto ultimately offered Momoshiki control in the first place, because Momoshiki knows Boruto would be willing to die instead of allow his friends to be harmed, because that's exactly what happened in part 1. When Momoshiki took advantage of Naruto being unable to fight Boruto, he tried to kill Naruto, but then Boruto was able to briefly take control and he ordered Kawaki to kill him. If Boruto dies again, there's no cheating death this time, and so Momoshiki knows exactly what Boruto's planning. Boruto never planned to come out of this alive. Upon hearing this, Boruto merely glares at him, knowing that he's caught, but he continues to press on, demanding to know if he and Momoshiki have a deal or not. Momoshiki answers non-verbally by activating Boruto's karma seal, and he tells Boruto he can have full access to all of Momoshiki's power, not just the benefits of karma like drawing on Momoshiki's chakra or the combat experience, but everything, which includes the other powers that Momoshiki has. Whatever Boruto feels that he needs to accomplish their goal is at Boruto's fingertips, and if you're Mamushi, that means that you're in for a world of hurt. The reason being is that in the present day, Boruto's standing there. He's aura farming Mamushi, karma seal activated, staring down at him, but when his clone attempts to consume Boruto, it is instantly destroyed because Boruto, in the span of a few seconds, has created a Karma Seal Amp Rasengan, and it destroys the entire arm and part of the body of the Mamushi clone. This causes 7 more Mamushi clones to charge at Boruto, but before Mamushi can fully attack, Boruto's already thrown 2 more shuriken into the eyes of the clone, and he's teleported via the flying raijin to the shuriken so he can get behind the clones, and before they can grab their baby oil, Boruto has cut off all their heads, aiming for the center of the head to destroy the eyes to ensure that they can't regenerate. However, just as Boruto lands, Shikamaru reports to him that there are 3 more Mamushi clones, 2 alleys behind him, and Boruto immediately cuts on the byakugan for the first time, which is huge because every moment prior to this, when Boruto used True Essence of Karma, the eye with the byakugan was sealed shut, but now he's using it to see through obstructions, and we're seeing the benefit of having a True Essence of Karma being used by Boruto because he's using that byakugan like he's already been a trained master with it. Boruto then pulls out 2 more shuriken, and somewhere stuck inside of that tree, Sasuke's probably smiling because for the first time in the manga, Boruto has finally pulled off the shuriken jutsu that Sasuke first tried to teach Boruto in part 1. The 2 shuriken, they bounce off of each other, they change direction mid-air, and they curve, which strikes one of the clones in the back of the head. And upon seeing this, Boruto immediately teleports to the shuriken, and within mere moments, Boruto busts out a super giant Rasengan to take down all 3 clones in one hit, which is really impressive when you realize what Boruto did. So for reference, the super giant Rasengan obviously requires a lot more chakra than the standard Rasengan or the normal giant Rasengan. The super giant Rasengan is what Jiraiya needed Sage Mode in order to use against Pain, and the Rasengan that Naruto passed on to Boruto when he added his chakra to the Rasengan to take down fused Momoshiki, that was a super giant Rasengan. This is also what Naruto used against Edo Tensei Madara in episode 322. That is a step below the super giant Rasengan, which is the maximum amount of chakra pumped into a Rasengan, which is what Naruto used to take down Delta. The regular super giant Rasengan, Delta was able to tank that. That's why Naruto needed the super giant Rasengan. I point that out to say Boruto isn't just in his bag right here. He is deep inside of his bag here now that he has Momoshiki's full power, because he no longer has to monitor his chakra anymore. Because before, if Boruto's chakra dropped below a certain point, Momoshiki could just hijack. But basically, this deal with Momoshiki allows Boruto to ignore that risk now, and he's having to exert this much chakra to take down Mamushi. That is a sign of how formidable of a foe Mamushi is, but also with how Boruto has been able to contain the area of affected damage to where a super giant Rasengan is not blowing away buildings or leaving craters in the ground. It speaks volumes to how skilled Boruto has become in chakra control. However, Boruto doesn't get too much time to rest after he cuts the Karma Seal off, because Inojin reports that there are more Mamushi clones, and Boruto is to rendezvous with the members of Team 10 to offer backup at Shikamaru's order. And Boruto, knowing that his younger sister's there, doesn't hesitate to fly off into the distance to join the fight. Meanwhile, more Mamushi clones, they're gathered in the forest region, and Mamushi's clones realize that Boruto's attacking, and his mind is so made up on getting his hands on Ada that he doesn't even see the chakra rods get shot into the back of his skull. And hovering in the air is Kawaki, who has now cut on his Karma Seal, and he's preparing to go 7 versus 1. And as one of them transforms their arm to devour Kawaki, Kawaki is shocked to learn that the Mamushi clones, they possess the ability to fly, but Kawaki simultaneously activates his ninja tech inside his body and takes out 2 of the clones in one swoop, punching them through the air. When a third clone tries to sneak up on him from behind to devour him, Kawaki takes a page out of Ishiki's book, and he shrinks himself down to 1 inch in size, flies into a better position, and summons chakra rods from the Daikokuden dimension to go straight through Mamushi's eyes, his skull, and for good measure his mouth as well, before Kawaki resizes himself. Leaving no time to waste, Kawaki then summons another chakra rod to use as a staff and immediately swings it with so much force he outright destroys the heads of Mamushi's clones, and then he flies towards the remaining 3 clones and hits them with enough force that their entire bodies have been destroyed upon impact. And we see the benefits of the upgrades that Amato was making to Kawaki's body in the last chapter. His attack power has been raised even further, but what's alarming here is that the Mamushi clones are strong enough that both Boruto and Kawaki had to use their karma to battle them off, and in Boruto's case, Boruto had to exert way more power than Kawaki did to take them down. This is important since it does back up what we were told in the last arc and in the very first arc of the story. These Shinju are strong. Each one of them is stronger than Code. But that's the whole reason why Boruto said taking down Matsuri was only that easy, because she was off guard. Same with Shikamaru and Kashin Koji's plan to try to have the Shinju off guarded. They are formidable, and what we're seeing out of Mamushi proves that. But as more clones are taken out, Mamushi's intelligence is beginning to return, and he's grasping the situation in a critical manner now. His clones, they might have masked their chakra, so they should have been able to have the element of surprise, but Boruto and Kawaki, they're taking their clones out like they had prior intel on their location. However, for as observant as Mamushi is, he basically pulls the move of that one guy in a video game does when he's all out of moves. He's basically saying, screw strategy, I'm just going to start spamming and hope that something works out. Which is why Mamushi says he'll make even more clones and he'll spread them out to make it harder to track them all. It's a very bold move, but it does have sound logic to it. By trying to overwhelm them via the large number, he's getting a chance to see how far and how well timed their response is. And depending on how many clones are destroyed, he's going to be able to adjust as needed. And if he needs to find Ada as a result, if that just so happens to take place, because there are more clones out there, then all the better. It's worth the temporary loss of intelligence because with each clone destroyed, he'll get back more intelligence. Meanwhile, inside the interrogation room, Kobu is ripping into Mitsuki. He says that Boruto was in sealing handcuffs and they were working properly, to the point that even Mitsuki, even if he attacked Boruto, the force, it wouldn't have been enough for the cuffs to come off, and he accuses Mitsuki of releasing Boruto intentionally, which makes you go back to the prior chapter, and the moment he called Mitsuki by the name of Orochimaru's son a bit different now. He basically already had his mind set on Mitsuki as a suspect. The old expression, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, is basically at play here. He's saying your father is a Kage killer, so why wouldn't you be fine with helping a Kage killer escape? That's basically Kobu's logic. However, Kobu is proving that even though he's not a shinobi himself, he too can see past deception, because he tells Mitsuki that the code is only known to a small number of people. Upon hearing this, Konohamaru realizes that Kobu is close to figuring out the truth, that Shikamaru was the one who set up Boruto's release. And as he prepares to go back inside the room, Sai is now informed that Boruto's been spotted inside the village, as has Mamushi, and Sai demands to be connected to Shikamaru, who is currently giving orders to Kawaki to stand by in the central business district of Konoha and be prepared to move on Shikamaru's next orders. When Sai is connected to Shikamaru, he informs him that there's a Shinju invasion going on and that Boruto's been spotted inside the village, but the sensory unit has been unable to verify due to the chakra being suppressed, and that the Anbu have been sent out as well. Shikamaru, having the 400 IQ that he does, he tells Sai, be prepared to release Mitsuki since they're going to need him to defend the village. And when Sai warns, Lord Kobu's not going to take too kindly to this, Shikamaru pulls rank and he says, just tell him it's under the Hokage's orders. What we're seeing here is a multi-front war. Sai was already suspicious of Konohamaru working with somebody, and he's likely already played with the possibility that maybe it was Shikamaru. Shikamaru previously told Mitsuki to stay put, and now we know why. He planned to use Mamushi's attack to get Mitsuki out, hopefully before Kobu got too far into questioning, but he had to wait for the attack to be reported so as to not draw suspicion. Sai is there in the room and has seen how Kobu is getting close to pinning this on Shikamaru, which is doublespeak with the warning, saying that Kobu won't take too kindly to this, and Shikamaru is pulling rank because he knows that inevitably he was always going to end up face to face with Kobu at some point. So pissing the guy off by having Mitsuki release while doing it under the guise of trying to save the village to give him cover, it's worth the gamble that he's taking. Basically, Shikamaru is the figurative toad in boiling pot water, and the water is rising and it's getting hotter, and he knows it, and he's trying to escape before he's toad stew. Meanwhile, 50 more Mamushi clones have been spread out throughout the village, demanding people tell them where Ada's located at. Shikadai leads Chocho and Himawari towards the swarm of Mamushi clones, and Boruto is told to head to the area of disturbance to deal with the clones and then link up with Team 10 to give backup, but Boruto is already ahead of him. He's slicing through more Mamushi clones, once again ore farming because he's cutting them down while flying through the air, never touching the ground in the process or slowing down even when doing so. Back in the Hokage Tower, Konohamaru steps in when Kobu asks Mitsuki about the code, and he informs Kobu that he forgot to say it earlier, but he forgot to set the code on Boruto's cuffs, which means they never got activated, and that's why they broke free when Mitsuki attacked Boruto. But Kobu gives him the look of this Ningen right here, and he eyes him suspiciously. Konohamaru tells Mitsuki via private channel he knows Shikamaru ordered Mitsuki to free Boruto, and that they have to protect Shikamaru's Hokage at all costs. However, Kobu calls out Konohamaru for being a liar and demands to know who he's protecting. And when Konohamaru says, "I'm not protecting anyone," Kobu tells Konohamaru to go fetch the 8th Hokage like a good boy so he can be interrogated. Remember that pot of boiling water? Well, the temperature just got turned up more and the seasoning got thrown into the pot because Chef Kobu is getting ready to start cooking. Back on Sector D, Mamushi's clones take note of all the Konoha citizens looking at them, and he realizes, hey, Ada's not here. So he's preparing to move on, but Himawari comes flying through the air, ready to dropkick him, and she's in her Nine Tails mode. This time activated on her own without the rage amp we saw previously, and she kicks the guy clean across the sky before she can land. 2 more of the clones, they go flying through the air towards her, trying to get the drop on her before she can get her bearings, but Himawari quickly backflips out the way, falls back towards the ground where Shikadai and Chocho are, and we see that it's all part of a strategy. The Mamushi clones, due to how many of them there are, their intelligence is dropped, making it easier for them to manipulate. They're no better than a wild panda that a group of Ganin have to trick into a box to subdue, basically. With the Mamushi clones giving chase, giving into their primal instinct, it allows Himawari to lead them to Shikadai, who unveils a new jutsu that was developed during the time skip. He can now shoot off 4 different simultaneous shadow possession jutsu like they're heat-seeking bullets in order to ensnare Mamushi and then yank them from the top of the rooftop, basically taking advantage of them being caught off guard and slam them into the ground, which allows for Chocho to use the expansion jutsu to smash them into the ground. But as Inojin watches everything via his jutsu and he's laughing at how easy things are, Kashin Koji has a worried look on his face, implying that things aren't going to be as easy as they appear to be going, and it does make you wonder, did Kashin Koji get another 10 Directions update? It's a question we have to ask, just like you have to ask yourself which of these Naruto Explained videos you're going to click on here on the left, or are you going to click here on the right to check out videos from my other 2 anime channels where I talk about non-Naruto anime and manga.